Hey, good morning, my friends. I'm Live Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here with the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm a little late this morning. My wife dropped a plate of scrambled eggs and some sausage in front of me, so sorry. As far as weather, let's see what we got going on here. We got a lot of folks here looking in Livingston County for the rest of the week. Jeff, it looks cold. Livingston County won't have much snow at all. Good morning, frigid Shelby Township. Give us some good news on a string of days of average temperatures was slightly above. It'll happen. We're going to look at that. Good morning, Christy Galloway from Napoleon. Good morning to you. So here we go. All right, so what we have, my little headline there was lake effect snow never seems to end. We get in this case when Arctic air is entrenched and the lakes are starting to ice up. I'm actually working on an article for that, and you'll find it kind of amazing, the ice growth in the last week. For example, like Lake Michigan went from, I think it was somewhere around 16% ice to 43% ice or something like that, 35% ice in the last 7 days. So we'll look at that. The lake effect keeps going. We have another blob of Arctic air coming for Friday into the weekend. And everything on the models, I watch a lot of models daily, several times a day out in the long term, and everything kind of looks like the Arctic air wants to give up for at least a week or so in early February. And I'll tell you, sometimes why I like to look at the upper air with you is that the upper air will tell a more accurate story of the surface weather sometimes than what the surface forecasts come out from the same model. I'll show you what I mean. So in other words, the upper air looks like we're going to modify some, not warm. Highs in the 20s and 30s. But the surface forecasts don't show that. So let's get started. And yeah, lake effect never ends. So we still have the winter weather advisory along the shoreline basically from Charlevoix through the Traverse City area, southward through Grand Rapids, all the way to the south. Cold weather advisory in effect for the thumb and the southeast. And here's the radar. Again, you can see the west-northwest winds make the classic lake effect snow areas. Grand Rapids, you're getting it pretty hard in Muskegon and South Haven and Grand Haven, Holland. Also in the Traverse City area and east of the Traverse City as well, and a little bit in the UP. Now, during the day today, those of us on the east side of the state will get some occasional spurts of snow showers. But in this case, the wind isn't strong enough, consistent enough to bring anything meaningful. You know, sometimes we get a meaningful I-69 band of lake effect snow or I-94. This looks like, as we look at the radar forecast, it looks like just occasional snow showers. Like this is 1 o'clock this afternoon. So you could snow anywhere across lower Michigan today at times for 15 minutes or a half hour here and there. But obviously the west side of the state, west of US 131, all the way up the shore, has more consistent, steady lake effect snow, another 2 to 5 inches. This is a good formula for the next several days. 2 to 5 inches every day in that western part of the state. Now this is midnight tonight. So the story is accumulated snow on the west side, just spurts of flurries in the air. On the east side, could mount up to an inch in spots. In fact, this radar forecast shows that through the Flint area over to St. Clair County, it's forecasting an inch of snow. And on the west side where you see the blues, that's the 2 to 5 inch areas. Traverse City, south to Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. And of course, with the bitterly cold temperatures, we don't get any relief from the packed ice on the roads. So, good morning, Kimberly Zeismer. Good morning, Go Blue SH. Good morning, Techman D1. Glad you caught me. From Big D. Oh, okay. This is Big D. This is one of my favorite engineers of all time, Mr. Dynan. Okay, so here's your upper airflow, and this is what I was talking about. We have still the Arctic air circulating around us. But you'll also notice what I want you to pay attention to, the simple way to look at this is the colors on the map. They represent a compressed cold air mass when you're talking this cold. Temperatures or colors are in purplish. Then as we go forward, you'll see them change a little bit, and that means that the atmosphere is warming a touch aloft. So here we go. This is into Thursday and Friday, so that lobe right there is our next Arctic front coming through Friday, and really cold. But you see the colors start to fade out of the blues and go to greens. Now we can get warmer aloft, but because the Arctic air is cold and at the surface and stubborn, it can still be there, but eventually it erodes away. So now we're at February 2nd, February 3rd, February 4th, and February 5th. That Arctic polar vortex is still up there, still swinging cold fronts through. That's why I say we're not going to spring right away, but now we're out February 8th and 9th, and something like that is warmer. This is pretty far out there. In fact, something like that develops a possible snowstorm over Michigan. So we'll be watching for that. So before that, that's way out there. Before that, we're not looking at any widespread storm system. The storm track has shifted south because we're in the deep, deep Arctic air. So this is tomorrow. Guess what you see? Lake effect snow on the west side of the state, and snow showers make it in the east side. And now this is Thursday, and then this is Friday. Here comes your Arctic front. The winds pick up a little bit, come out of the northeast, bitterly cold. There the winds die, so that sets us up for another really cold Saturday morning, Friday morning, and Saturday morning. Here's the next storm system. Again, a weak thing in Alberta Clipper, just no moisture in this type of air. But as the atmosphere rearranges, then we'll go back into storm systems that have moisture. You see there our first rain showing up on a radar forecast way out in the distance, but I'm just trying to show you that in the first week of February, we'll start to see somewhat of a pattern change. And if we get into that southwest flow, something like this could actually be, I believe it or not, I feel like it could be one of our first widespread statewide snowstorm, big weather situations of the winter. Yeah, we've done a lot of snow with just bits and pieces. All right, high temperatures. So today it's cold in the teens. Tomorrow into the lower teens. Thursday, drop it down another couple degrees. Some spots only hit 10, 9 in Flint. Friday is cold. Again, we flirt with 0, try to struggle above it. Saturday, cold, single digits, low teens. Sunday, we may pop up into the 20s in places. That'll feel like a heat wave, right? And then Monday, February 2nd, possibly into the 20s. And we're at February 4th. February 5th. February 5th would be the first time this model says that we could pop above freezing. And I've been targeting that all along. Sometime between February 2nd and February 6th. February 7th, it shows temperatures well into the 30s. That kind of pattern would bring a day or two into the 30s. Now look at the low temperature forecast. So tomorrow morning, down in the single digits. Thursday morning, starting to dip just briefly below 0. Friday morning, cold, 5 to 15 below 0. Saturday morning probably will be as cold, if not colder, even though the model shows just around zero, a few degrees. There's Sunday morning, could be 5 to 15 below zero again. So it's really, we're still in the waiting game, I guess I would say, to get out of this deep Arctic air. Looks like it starts to break next week, I would call it. And it looks like we got to wait painfully a few days into February 3rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere in there before we head to the freezing mark. If we get 2 days where it makes it to 35 or 37 in the afternoon, then all of the ice would come off the roads. We'd be reset, but I am going to warn you that as the cold air backs off, you see the active storm track, then the active storm track will lift north and we'll be in a whole different winter beast where February could test your back muscles with snow shovels and ice scrapers and all that stuff. So let's take it a week at a time, and remember, snow always melts. So thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist